Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Moms Like Me podcast powered by Support Now. I am really intrigued by this conversation today. I came across Elise, our guest, via Instagram over a year ago when I heard her story about being a survivor of pancreatic cancer. And for those that are familiar with cancer and certainly pancreatic cancer, that is not something you hear very often. And I thought, gosh, I've got to get to her. Lo and behold, she lives in Atlanta where I live. She's a mom of two. And so I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to interview you today, Elise Tedeschi, on the Moms Like Me podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So as I mentioned, your story is incredible. I mean, all cancer survivors.
Wow.
And as I learned more about your story, I really thought this could be so uplifting to at least one person out there who receives a heart-wrenching diagnosis and thinks, how am I going to survive this? And so I have read that you received your diagnosis when your kids were younger, 5 and 7.
Right.
But can you take me back to the moment where you both had suspicions that something was off and really where that moment of the diagnosis and what you were thinking when you heard those words?
I actually had progressive mid back pain, and I actually was not diagnosed. I mean, I had that pain 9 months before I ever got diagnosed. And,
Mm.
I think certainly as women, we know we have instincts and we should always trust them. But yeah, I had horrible back pain and then I started to lose weight and unintentionally, I was actually like, "Woohoo, I'm losing weight." But it was not for a good reason. And, I think I was glad that I just kept going back and trying to figure it out. And then finally, I ended up switching internal medicine doctors, and that doctor did a CT scan with contrast and revealed a very big 7 centimeter tumor. It actually had metastasized at that point, but he didn't tell me that. But they were still, it's interesting because they were still not sure that it was pancreatic cancer because it was so large. But
Right.
when I ended up going to a comprehensive cancer center in Florida, and that is where, I sat in this big room. My sister went with me, and,
Mm.
they tell you at this point they had seen, and they're like, you definitely have locally advanced pancreatic cancer. And it's like your life just stops in that second, and it's just devastating. I remember thinking about, like, looking at my sister so desperately, and then it ended up turning out, I did more tests, and it had metastasized mostly to my liver. There were some spots in my lungs, spots in my chest, and it was very, very, very scary. But I think that's the key of, like, getting the right doctor, and I had the right doctor, and he was pretty positive. The one thing he said to me was, "You are a statistic of 1," and so I always think that. And, if you look at any of the pancreatic cancer statistics, certainly back then, I had a 1% chance of surviving 5 years, and as a mom, I was like, "Okay, that's not part of the plan. There's no way I'm leaving my boys, and no one else is marrying my husband." So very scary, but
But the almost like the motivation and the inspiration to just like to fight on, say that, whatever anyone else's journey is not my own. And so I'm going to make decisions that I believe are best for my survival.
yeah.
So I think that advice, like you're one of one, is actually like really it's a short sentence, but it's a very powerful one when you're given such a diagnosis that feels so deadly on the spot.
Right.
How do you recall, or did you tell your children?
Well, they were so little, and they knew I wasn't feeling good. They knew for a while I wasn't feeling good, and I think it was kind of like we didn't initially say the cancer word because both my husband and I had lost uncles that past summer, and we didn't wanna totally scare them. So, I
Right.
think we just described it like as there's something inside mommy that should not be a mommy, and so they're gonna have to give me medicine. It's probably gonna make me really sick, but I'm gonna be okay. And I mean, it sounds weird, but I really believed through and through, even though I felt like everything was against me, I still felt like, "No, I'm." I honestly, I kept thinking to myself, "There's no way God's taking me away from my boys." And I just was like, I don't care what I got to go through. I just got to get through it. And we talked to them, and then eventually we ended up saying I had cancer. My son called me out on it, and he goes, "You didn't say you had cancer." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't?" And I was like, "Well, Aunt Carrie had cancer and she's okay. I'm gonna be okay too." And I think I made it so at ease, and I still lived my life. I mean, I still worked. It's just people think I'm crazy, but I still worked. I still went to soccer games. I still was present as much as I could be. And I think having that normalcy in your life helped them cope with it better.
Yeah. I can appreciate that, though. It's like it's such a suspense of disbelief, and it's like, I can imagine it sounds like the way you chose to handle it was almost as such as, "In order to survive, I have to live,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I'm gonna live to the degree that I am capable of doing in all facets,"
Yeah.
because it sounds like you were it's like mind over matter, and of course, it's not that simple, like, there's
Right.
plenty of people that don't have the outcomes you do, that are
Right.
fighting and believe
Right.
and almost, like, rejecting what they hear,
Yeah.
but it's almost as if, like, it starts with how you choose to think about it.
I mean, I joke like it wasn't always unicorns and butterflies, but I think people are always so surprised, like, "How are you so positive?" And I would say to them, "Well, I didn't choose to get the cancer. I didn't choose to go through this, but I do get to choose my attitude." And I felt like that was super empowering to myself. And I just felt like I'm gonna mutter through this. And one thing I did that I always recommend people doing, because it's hard to tell people, because then you get their reaction. And there's so many people I was talking off the ledge, like, "It's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay." And they're bawling on the phone. So I ended up writing an email to all my colleagues, all my friends, and said, "Okay, I finally figured out why I have this insane back pain," and kind of said, "This is the plan." And actually, initially, I didn't realize it had metastasized at this point. So I was like, it's in one spot. It's not a problem. And then anyways, but I told them, like, what to do in a sense of, "Hey, I need your prayers. I need your support. I don't need a pity party." That was the worst to me. Like, when someone felt sorry for me, like, "Oh, please don't feel sorry for me. It is what it is. You didn't get it to me." And so I was like, and I'm happy to talk about it, but, I'm up for walks, I'm up for this, I'm up for that, and I'm like, and especially for work, I was like, "Still rely on me. Please rely on me. Don't feel like you can't come to me, because I'm gonna work as long as I can work." And so I think that sort of set the tone for other people. I mean, trust me, there were still crazy things, like, a couple people offered to plan my funeral. Totally wasn't ready for that, but Cra I think people deal with cancer in a very weird way, and it's kind of like they take their own experiences, and, it's not like, to me, it's not personal for them.
Right, it's like, well, they project their own experience of cancer and what that means and how they might respond to it versus trying to consume the way that you're choosing to to move forward in this moment.
Right.
I love the, like, "Don't throw me a pity party," because it seems like you were so aware of the importance of the energy around you.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for you to have a great attitude and a spirit about you, but it also requires the village of people around you to buy into that, because that will push you forward. And it sounds like you also had such a great mindset in the sense of it's not that you're ignoring what's happening.
Yeah.
It's that if we're gonna push forward, I'm gonna need everyone striving to create this positive momentum.
Right.
And I think that's just, again, in the moment, I'm sure it's so much easier said than done.
I think I always and I talk to patients all the time, and I always say, "You have to consciously," because negative thoughts, I mean, trust me, I mean, I cried a billion times. And always at night, my husband and I would pray together, and I would always just so cry so hard, because I was just, that fear sometimes can be just so overwhelming. But I remember, like, when those bad thoughts would come, and trust me, they came, I would have to consciously think, "Okay, I'm not thinking that." And the more I did that, I felt like I actually really was in that mode of, like, yeah, there's no way I'm dying. Even though every doctor pretty much had we got second opinions and all that, second, third, fourth opinions, and so many doctors had to tell me, "You're gonna die from this anyways. Doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna die from this anyways." And I was like, "Unacceptable, not my doctor."
So what habits or rituals did you implement to, like, to help you stay in this mindset? I mean, I would imagine that your life changed both in terms of the treatment that you were getting, but were there any, like, day-to-day things that you said to yourself, "Okay, I'm gonna commit to these things both for your body and for your mind?"
I think I consciously did things that brought me joy. So, like, I spent a ton of time with my kids. I I still went to concerts, even though I remember being at Bruce Springsteen and not being able to stand because I was so weak, but I was still there. And I still felt like me. I mean, even though I was like kind of a shell of me in a way, because I got down to like 89 pounds, but I still felt like me and I still acted like me. And I just, I knew what the statistics were. I mean, the doctors reluctantly, as I asked, like, how long do I have to live? And my doctor reluctantly said to me, "You have most people in your condition," he wouldn't say you, but he's like, "Most people in your condition don't survive longer than 9 months." And I thought, okay, because I'm a numbers
Oh,
person and I had to wrap my head around that. And so I was like, okay, now I kind of understand what I'm dealing with. But I think at that point, I was like, okay, so if in fact I have 9 months left with my boys, I felt like I didn't want them to be like, "Oh, my poor mommy." Like, all the memories would be like me so sick, me not doing things. So I really pushed myself to do things every day. And I don't know if I really had goals every day. It was more of like I got dressed every day. I didn't stay in bed every day. Even days I really wanted to stay in bed, I I walked as much as I could. I still lived. And I think that in some respects, took my mind away from it, but, like, things like there's a part where food doesn't taste good. So, instead of going, "Nothing tastes good, I'm not gonna eat anything," I knew that that would be a bad thing to do. I knew I had to eat, and so I went to the grocery store, and I just picked everything out that kinda looked okay and didn't gross me out, or and some things tasted really bad, but I just tried to find solutions every time of like, okay, there's this issue, there's this side effect, there's that, and there's tons of side effects. But I just was like solution oriented. I think that's the person I am anyways. I think that helped.
one thing I'm so struck by, though not necessarily surprised, is just how motivating it is to have young children to live for and to survive
1,000%.
for. I mean, it's like, how do you and I have young children,
Yeah.
around 7, 6, 3, like,
Yeah.
and it really is one of those things when you really pause to think about it, it's like you're not trying to live for you, you're trying to live for them and
Mm.
those future milestones and those future events. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it really does. I think as moms, it's like that extra gear
Yeah.
of, like, that fight, like, you don't need any more motivation than looking at those little eyes that are looking at you and saying, "Are you gonna still be here?" I mean,
Uh,
it's well to think about.
1,000%. I mean, and I always tell people that, maybe are not in that situation. I mean, I would say if they're not even if they're not a mom and they're not in that situation, I always tell them, "You need to figure out your why." Like, what is your why? Why do you wanna survive? Why do you want and for me, it was super simple. I mean, I really felt like if if I passed away and I left my husband, I was like, he'd get over it. I would joke with him like, "You marry someone, I'm gonna haunt her." No, but just kidding.
But no, but I hold on, I think that I wanna pause there for a second, like, I I think it's important to also share that, like, there is humor in this, like, you have to think about these things, you have to think about all
Yeah,
these different outcomes, so, like, you're fighting, and you're fighting hard, but you're also having very real conversations with
yeah,
your husband and what life could look like if this doesn't happen so that they can live with not freedom, but
right.
just with this peace of mind of, like, what you would want.
It's funny because I would ask my husband, "So are you gonna remarry if I die?" And he would say, but you're not gonna die. I'm like, that's the best answer. Best answer. Okay, good. But,
Yeah.
for my boys, it was seriously like, I couldn't even fathom leaving them. My husband had lost his mom when he was 12, and my boys were younger, but it was still, I don't know, I mean, that resonated with me, and I just felt like, gosh, I I need to know at least I've done everything I possibly can do myself to get through this, to be there for them, and, you know, there's times, like, after, that I got the all clear that I would joke with the boys, like, they're like, "Mom, cut my fingernails or cut my toenails," and I'm like, "Gosh, that was a good thing I did not die." And I would just joke, and I don't think they understand the depth and breadth of it. I think there was a part of their life that they kind of did when I started helping people, and they were not necessarily surviving, so that was, I think that was a little hard. And then someone way later said to me, "Did your boys go through therapy when you were sick?" I was like, "No, I guess maybe they should have," and I didn't even think about that, but I felt like I was really open with them, and I'm still so close to them.
Right. Well, and you're also not trying to make the moment any bigger than it already is,
Right.
and for such little kids, you don't wanna push them into conversations they're not ready to have,
Yeah.
like, ideally, they have those conversations with you, which makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
So you speak, Elise, about the importance of movement, of, trying to keep up with really the, like, small, ordinary, mundane things like eating and going to activities
Right.
and school and events. What were the things that you valued from the community around you?
Community was nothing short of amazing. I mean, really, they were all my neighbors really were just there. My friends were there. They would, there were times where I was really, I mean, I got really, really weak and couldn't, I had to really concentrate, like, how am I going to use my energy today? And, sometimes my girlfriends would just say, have your kids ready in 30 minutes. Didn't even ask me, just would say, have your kids ready in 30 minutes. I'm going to pick them up. We're going here. And that was awesome. People did meal trains for us. My parents at the time had sort of moved in with us in the beginning. So I was like, I don't need food now. And then, but the teachers were, I mean, the teachers, like, I remember the first day of school, I was actually in Tampa doing radiation. And the teachers basically were handing me their cell phone number saying, you call me anytime. They knew you know, I was basically coming back every weekend.
Mm.
I mean, the support was amazing. And, I had great insurance. And I will tell you that cancer is it's insanely expensive. I mean, even the things that you don't think about, like I was normally a size 6 and I went down to a 0, 0. So I needed clothes. And so I
Nice.
had to buy clothes. I mean, so there's all these other expenses. People did a benefit for us, which helped us immensely. We still had an insane number of medical bills. I still have insane medical bills because I still get tested, and but I'm alive today, so I'm totally okay with that.
Well, there's a financial consequence of surviving.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Elise, how many years out from kind of that cancer being clear are you now?
It was it's 13, it's right around 13 years right now, like I said.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
This is kind of a deeper question, but
yeah.
I'm curious, like, does anything scare you now? Like, what are the or do you still have those moments of fear? Like, what is it like 13 years out surviving this deadly, deadly diagnosis that, again, I think culturally, like, pancreatic cancer, it's not like there's
Yeah.
such awareness of that diagnosis specifically. So what are the things that scare you today, if anything?
I don't know. I think for me now, like in my life right now, I've been trying to switch my career from, I've always done marketing, PR and all that with in like the hospitality entertainment industry, and trying to work for, you know, maybe pharmaceutical or something, and I've been doing a lot of advocacy stuff because I'm so passionate about it. So probably the fear is like, why would they not hire me? I don't understand. but but I don't know. I mean, I think as a mom, you always fear that your kids are going to be okay. I mean, as a mom, I think I always fear that, you know, do they have a higher chance of getting cancer because I had cancer? My boys haven't had genetic testing, but they will soon, and I that is a big fear to me for them. I mean, in a
Right.
way, and I've talked to one of my sons about it, and he's like, "Mom," he's like, "everything you've taught me about genetics and about knowing those things helps you in beating any of this stuff." And,
Oh,
you know, I think my boys are pretty healthy. So I think there's always the normal mom fears of like, my
yeah.
boys are gonna be okay, gonna be happy, everything like that.
Right.
But
And that never goes away,
yeah,
no matter
yeah,
who you are, right? So I know you have at least one child in college, right?
yep,
At Georgia?
yep. And then
And then your other?
my other one is actually learning to be a groomer. So,
Amazing.
doing what he loves. And, I'm proud of both of them. I think the one thing I noticed with them compared to maybe people in their same age that have never experienced something like this, they have more empathy than anyone I've ever seen. I mean, both of them in ways like he said they were in our neighborhood once and they were walking, they found it's this dog and it was actually a neighbor's dog, but they didn't know. So they were posting it on our, subdivision Facebook or whatever. And they're like, whose dog is this? And they're like, the dog is so dirty. So we washed the dog, mom, all this stuff. And it ended up being our neighbors who probably need to wash their dog. But they just, they have like huge hearts. And I feel like I think it's so cool to see that.
Yeah. I'm curious, I know you've already given so much advice, but if you know or if anyone listening is going through something similar, what is that single piece of advice that you would give to that person?
I think 100% find the doctor that's willing to fight for you, the one that has plan A, plan B, plan C. I would say the trend right now in cancer is all about your hereditary genetic mutations as well as the biomarkers or they're like acquired mutations that are within that tumor tissue and knowing what that is,
Mm.
that to me, like there's so much new stuff out this year, so important. The research is just amazing. And I feel like we're closer and closer. I don't feel like cancer will ever go away because cancer is like this, it's like a mutation. It's like an alien in a sense where it changes and adapts and figures out things. So
Great.
I feel like there's get the right test, go to a bigger comprehensive cancer institute. If you have to go away, what's this is amazing. A lot of people don't know your insurance most of the time will cover it. My insurance covered it. I still go to Tampa to get scans, but also I was able to do all my chemotherapy in Atlanta and they worked with my doctor that was down in Tampa. So I think
Incredible.
ask questions that you wanna ask, and, it's okay to get second, third, fourth opinions because, I think we're always built to trust our doctors, especially the older generations, and I think for us, it's like we need to question. I mean, now with ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these, I mean, there's a lot of information there, but I feel like also one thing, I find more information and understand and learn more from other patients than I do really from any doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's such sound advice, like, ask questions and get opinions like your life depends on it,
Yeah.
because it does.
Yep.
And I really think to kinda circle back to an earlier point you make, which I think really connects these 2 concepts together, it's not just finding a doctor that you trust, but it's finding a doctor that believes that you can be the exception.
Yep.
Because it can be so easy to fall back into a statistic and trends, and
Oh, yeah.
you've really gotta find someone that believes that, yeah, things aren't in your favor,
Yeah.
and there's always a chance.
Yeah, and I think, people always think of stage 4 of any cancer as a death sentence, but if you have the right, sort of targeted therapy, it's not necessarily it's not a death sentence. It doesn't have to be, and not that I'm saying, like, everyone's gonna survive every stage 4. I mean, it's so dependent on your own DNA. I mean, there's a million factors, but trying to find the doctor that understands all of that and is not just giving you the standard of care. He's giving you what what you need for you to beat whatever cancer.
Well, Elise, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. It really is such a powerful testament to all the things. And I think as you spoke about today, there was certain things that you did. There were certain things that your community did. There were certain things that you were born with that were advantages, but every single piece of it
Yeah.
was required for you to be in the place that you're in today. And so I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to meet you and to learn from you.
I think
And really, I just think this perspective is so beautiful for anyone out there with any sort of diagnosis, not just pancreatic cancer, but anything
right.
where someone is fearing for the future of their children, because that's really what this was about for you. It was what is the future of my children going to look like, maybe even more so than yourself.
Thank you so much for letting me share. Please follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, where can people find you?
Stage 4 survivor, all spelled out, or you can Google my name in there and or search my name in there. It's in there as well. I started TikTok as well. So yeah, and I will say that I'm working on a website. It's not live yet, but it's survivorsguide to cancer.com. And hopefully
Wonderful.
I'll get that out sooner than later.
Well, and we'll make sure to tag you and to add that into the show
Right.
notes for anyone that wants to keep an eye out for that. Thank you, Elise.
Thank
Look forward to
you.
many conversations with you.
Thanks.